So he's going to share some tips on how to keep a healthy spine.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll go ahead and thanks. So as we learn and practice and change and through the years, kind of learning about like what is it that makes a spine normal, and how do you get a painful spine to become normal, and then when you do, how do you keep it that way? How do you keep a spine healthy? So, you know, Dr. Spivak and I have talked all the years, and we want to learn. We take classes, and so just from my experience through the years, little tidbits for you guys to ponder. You know, life with spine pain is not good. You know, people, back pain's miserable, affects your life, and you can't do the things you want to do. So, who here has had back pain? Neck pain, low back pain? All right, and okay, for those of you who didn't raise your hand, don't worry, it's coming. You know, research says 95 to 100% of people experience some type of spine pain sometime in their lifetime. If you do the following, who here texts, who here works on a computer, plays on a computer, who here reads a lot, who here watches TV, what's that? Television, who here goes to school? Raise your hand if you go to school. Okay, all right, who is currently working or planning on working? Okay, great. What do all of these have in common? Sitting. It's interesting, a couple of years ago I was on a plane flight, and I opened this article, and it's titled, "Sitting is the New Smoking." And so I'm like, hey, Doc Spivak, check this out. And it talks about all the negative effects to the body, not only the musculoskeletal system, but the whole body in general. And we're like, ooh, that's, you know, sitting is good for business. So keep sitting, you'll end up here. So first tidbit is limit that sitting time. How many hours a week does the average American sit per week?
50.
50? More. 70? 100? You know, the average is about 64 hours a week, which is a lot of sitting. And I don't care if you're sitting with perfect posture or not, which most of you aren't. You know, you sit a lot, and bad things happen to your body, musculoskeletal system, and your spine. So one of the cool things they're starting to incorporate is the standing desk, where you don't have to sit as much, and you poor students have to sit in our class. At least we have you. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Get out of the chair. All right, sit down. And that's one of my. Well, that's another tidbit, but not only like duration, not only time duration, but think of also like that period of time when you're sitting. The more you're sitting that specific period of time, the worse the kind of stress kind of builds. Tip number 2, do slouch overcorrect. What is that? Well, everybody is slouching, so why don't everybody sit up nice and tall? There you go. Now everybody slouch back down again. And everybody sit up nice and tall. And really what you're doing is you're actually rotating your pelvis between sitting on your, quote, sit bones and sitting on your sacral spine. But that little exercise, that little motion, let's see if we can... video, no video. Video, no video. Can you see that, Emily?
Put the mouse on. Oh, there you
go. And it's sideways. So everybody do this. Grab your hips and roll your hips back into a slouch posture, and then sit up nice and tall. And then slouch and sit up nice and tall. Now, if you do that little exercise consistently while you're sitting, it'll mitigate and help eliminate a lot of the negative things that happen from sitting for a long time. So now when you're in class for hours or work for hours where you got to sit, do this exercise. What we say is motion is lotion. Keep that motion in that spine. Move it. Move consistently. So this sitting world we live in, what I say is we live in a flexed posture, and where our spine is flexed hours and hours and hours due to technology, recreation now, computers, phones. There's actually something called text neck, an injury that's affecting a lot of people's necks. They're texting, sit there and texting all day, that end up with neck pain. So maybe if we live so much time in flexion, it might be a good idea to spend a little bit of time in lumbar extension. So everybody stand on up. Grab the top of your hips and give a little stretch backwards into lumbar extension. And sit down. Now you should have a pretty good excursion into extension. It's not too bad, a little stiff, not too bad. If that motion is limited and or painful, you may be spending too much time in flexion and you're losing your elasticity, your ability to extend your spine. So let's talk about motion is lotion. Walk a lot, move a lot. Don't just sit there and not move for hours at a time. People are on the computer for hours and hours and hours, and they get up, they're like, oh, and oh, you know, just sitting for those long periods of time. My rule to help maintain a healthy spine is get up every half hour and move. Every half hour you need to be up and moving. And then finally, how is my spine moving? Assess your spinal mobility. Am I moving like I'm supposed to? So everybody stand on up again. And watch me, because you're going to do what I do. Relax your shoulders. Put your left hand on your left hip. Keep your shoulders centered and really just kind of push your hip over. There should be a nice excursion over of that hip. And now, right hand on right hip, and push. Keep the shoulders semi-level, and let the hips excurge over. That's right lateral flexion. We did extension. Let's review it again. Hands on the hips. My favorite. Lean back. Get a nice stretch backwards. Again, there should be a nice excursion. Full and pain-free. Shouldn't feel... How's that feel? Oh, it feels stiff. And then keep your knees straight and just glide your hands right down your legs. You should get semi-close to your ankles for good spinal mobility. And have a seat. If your spine does not move well in all those planes of motion, work on it a little bit. Work on mobility every day. Questions? Questions about a healthy spine? All right, who's next?